Welcome, leaders. And hey, let's think of this as less of an explainer and more of a high-stakes workshop. Because today, we're not just going to talk about leadership, we're actually installing a brand new operating system for how you manage yourself and your team, especially when the pressure is on. So, you ever wonder how some leaders project that just unshakable confidence? Well, it's not magic. It's actually a programmable code. We're going to use Barack Obama as a really fascinating case study here to deconstruct the psychological mechanics behind what most of us just call, charisma.
I mean, this is the core question for any manager, isn't it? A deadline is missed, a client is furious, your team is looking to you, expecting answers. In that moment, your internal state, it becomes their reality. So today, we're learning to control that state on demand.
Okay, so here's our roadmap. We're going to break the leader's mind code by moving through 4 key modules. First, we'll start by mastering our internal state. Then, we'll learn how to project influence, become the prototype for our team, and then we'll finish with a final thought audit. It really all starts from the inside out. All right, Module 1, Mastering Your Internal State. Look, before you can lead anyone else, you absolutely have to lead yourself. All external influence, all that team motivation, it begins with your own internal control. This is the non-negotiable foundation.
Let's kick things off with a core concept, your locus of control. It's really just about where you place responsibility. So on the left, you've got an external locus. Ugh, the market is bad, or this project timeline is just impossible. It's a passive victim mindset. But on the right, you have the internal locus of a leader. Okay, how can I navigate this market? Or what resources do I need to make this timeline work? You see that? That shift from blame to ownership, it is everything.
So here's the crucial point. Effective leaders don't sit around waiting for a rescue when a project is failing. They project this calm confidence that they are the rescue. And their team, they feel that sense of ownership, and it just stabilizes the entire system.
Okay, now, let's talk about managing the chaos inside. Psychology calls the constant chatter in our heads the committee of the mind. And you know what I'm talking about. You've got the voice of doubt, the voice of ego, the voice of fear, all of them shouting for attention, especially when you're in a crisis.
Now, leaders like Obama, they don't try to silence this committee, they learn to direct it. They use what's called analytical intelligence, which is kind of like a form of productive overthinking. So instead of reacting with that gut-level fear when a project goes sideways, they just take a breath. They step back, question their first instinct, and choose a more strategic response. They literally become the circus director, not one of the clowns.
So here's your tool. The next time you feel that wave of stress about a project, run the thought through this audit. Ask yourself, is the fear that I'm going to fail actually based in reality, or is it just an old story I keep telling myself? What's the evidence I have that I'll actually succeed? And, probably most importantly, what kind of behavior will this thought produce in me and my team? Now for Module 2, Projecting Influence and Trust. See, once your internal state is solid, then you can project that stability outward. This is where we focus on building the kind of influence that creates real, genuine trust and commitment.
And this is the goal, right? You don't want a team that just agrees with you to avoid a fight. You want a team that follows your lead because they genuinely believe you know the way forward. That's Informational Social Influence. You become the Maven, the trusted source of clarity.
And to become that Maven, you have to build this Triad of Trust. People need to see you as an authority in your field. They need to believe you're being honest and transparent. And, on a basic level, they need to find you likable. When you get these 3 things in place, your messages are accepted so much more easily.
Now this slide, this shows a really critical distinction, especially when there's conflict on the team. Coercive power, that's the agree on this solution or else approach. And yeah, it gets you surface-level compliance. But referent power, that says, I know this is tough and I'm going to stay late with you to figure this out. That personal sacrifice, that's what inspires true, private commitment.
And this brings us to the ultimate goal, becoming a transformational leader. You're not just managing tasks anymore. You're a role model inspiring your team to change their own beliefs about what's even possible. You motivate them to privately accept a new vision, and that creates lasting change, not just temporary compliance.
Okay, moving on to Module 3, Becoming the Team Prototype. So we've managed our internal state, we've projected influence. Now, how do we make it all stick? How do we embed our vision into the very culture of the team?
Well, this illustrates a really powerful cognitive shortcut. See, in our brains, every single concept has a prototype,
A best example. For fast food, it's probably McDonald's. For smartphone, maybe an iPhone. As a leader, your job is to become the living, breathing prototype of the values you want your team to adopt.
So let's just pause and reflect for a second. If I asked your team members right now, what is your manager the prototype for, what would they say? Calm under pressure? Innovation? Clear communication? Or something else? Because your actions are defining this every single day.
So how do you make your message memorable? Well, you leverage the brain's own encoding system. We are literally hardwired to remember things that we can connect to ourselves. Your team won't remember abstract corporate goals, but they will remember how those goals connect to their own personal aspirations.
Here's exactly how to do it in your next team meeting. Start with the goal. Then share a brief, relevant personal story about how you've pursued a similar goal. And finally, you explicitly connect the team's project success to each member's career growth, their skill development, or even just their personal satisfaction. You make the mission about them. And that brings us to our fourth and final section, your final thought audit. We've gone from mastering your internal world to shaping your team's external reality. So let's bring it all together for this really core shift in perspective. If you take just one thing away from this workshop, please let it be this. The charisma, the calm, the influence, it's not something you're born with. It is a skill. It's the direct result of a mind that has been deliberately and meticulously organized for performance under pressure.
And this right here is the key. You are not the anxious thought. You are not the fear of failure. You are not what your boss or your team thinks of you. You are the consciousness that observes all of it. And from that position of awareness, you can choose how to respond. You are the director.
So I'll leave you with this final, actionable question. Think about that internal committee of yours. Is it the voice of self-doubt, procrastination, maybe anger? Which one will you decide to fire right now, today, to begin rewriting your leadership code?